people on the left, in which I count myself, believe in free speech and believe in all sorts of other good things like no oppression of women, that kind of thing, except where Islam is concerned. And suddenly, as soon as Islam is involved, all those nice liberal radical principles go out of the window. If the atheist people had been wearing really quite offensive Jesus T-shirts, nothing would have been done. It's because of Muhammad, that's the reason. And I think what's going on in the mind of people not everybody on the left, of course, but some people on the left, is that they're caught in this cleft stick that on the one hand they want to be liberal and in favor of free speech and no oppression of women and things. On the other hand, they're terrified of being thought racist. And there's a confusion in their minds that if you say anything against Islam, you are a racist. It's a total nonsense to call Islam a race, obviously. I mean, the largest Islamic nation in the world is actually Indonesia. Very, very racially totally different from Arabs, totally different from Pakistanis, totally different from Somalis. There is no justification whatsoever for calling Islam a race, no justification whatsoever for calling any criticism of Islam racist. But they are confused in their tiny minds. They're muddled and they're hypocritical. It's almost the case that you can say something, actually I tweeted about this only today, that we are passionately against oppression of women unless that oppression is part of, quote, their culture. How patronizing and condescending can you get? And more and more people, I think, especially in Britain, maybe in this country as well, are waking up to the fact that there is a deep hypocrisy in the liberal left where Islam is concerned. They suddenly throw all their principles out of the window where Islam is concerned. It's as though fear of racism trumps all the other nice liberal principles.
Would you have a ban, like Donald Trump suggested in America, would you have a ban on Muslims entering the country, new Muslims trying to have a home in this country?
I believe we need to protect the British public right now.
So what's the answer to the question?
British Muslims?
Yeah, we need. Yeah, the British public. I didn't say British non-Muslim public. I said the British public. We've had.
So would you ban?
We've had
Tommy,
three
you're a straight
attacks.
talker.
Children are being killed.
Yes, we all know what's been happening.
Yes, I would. I would stop.
You would ban all Muslims.
I would temporarily halt Muslim immigration to this country until we get a grip of the problem. I differentiate Muslims from Islam.
Right.
Okay?
But what you don't do.
Differentiate Muslims.
Muslims are people. Islam is an idea.
Yeah.
Islam's an idea. A bad idea.
Islam is a faith.
No, it's an idea.
It's a faith.
It's an idea that you can change your mind.
No, it's a faith. Like Christianity.
Like Scientology.
Like all faiths.
Like
it's a religion, it's a faith.
Like Scientology?
So, Tommy,
it's an ideology.
If you're saying that the problem is with Islam, are you accepting that you're Islamophobic?
Because there are 100 verses in this...
Yes or no?
Okay.
Are you Islamophobic?
There's no such word as Islamophobia. Phobia is an irrational fear. It's not irrational to fear these things. Now, if I hold this book up and say, there will never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book, it's a violent and cursed book.
That's wrong.
Can I tell you who said that? Can I tell you who said that?
Can you put the
Sir William Gladstone said that.
You wouldn't do that with...
Sir William Gladstone
said that. Would you do that with the Bible? Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Have you read this book?
For people.
Have you read this book?
There are over a billion people.
There are 100 verses in this book that incite violence and murder against us.
Show some damn respect for people's religious beliefs, right?
I should show some respect for a book that incites murder against me.
Put it down.
And calls me an animal. No, I won't put it down. Sir William Gladstone held this book above his head in Parliament and he said there will never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book. It's a violent and cursed book. Was Sir William Gladstone, who we have statues across our capital C, was he a bigot or an Islamophobe?
See, now
Winston Churchill...
You're sounding like a complete lunatic.
No, I'm quoting previous some of the best leaders in this country.
You're sounding like a bigoted lunatic.
No, I'm not.
Somebody that basically,
Winston Churchill
you are an
said- Winston
Islamophobe
Churchill-
who hates Islam.
No, I don't
You
hate
basically
Islam.
think all
I know-
Muslims are to blame.
No.
We've seen you on video
No,
saying it.
I
And what
haven't.
you're doing now is deliberately inflammatory. It is deliberately poisonous.
How's this
And you
inflammatory?
are having
I'm
the
just giving you
complete
facts.
opposite effect to the one that you
I'm
say you
quoting
have.
William Gladstone.
You are stirring
I'm
up
quoting-
hatred. You
stirring
are
up hatred.
abusing people's religion. You're abusing their faith.
We've
And
atta-
you're being
we've-
a complete disgrace.
What do you know about the Prophet Muhammad? We've established nothing. You are ignorant.
I know
to
that
this
you're
issue.
deliberately insulting
What do you know
people
about the Prophet?
who
How
have-
am I insulting people?
who have deeply held religious beliefs.
And if they, in the,
you flouncing
this
the
book-
Quran around in your
this
hand
book is
in
the
that
reason,
disgraceful manner
this book
is outrageous.
This book is the reason we're in such a mess.
No.
That's a reality.
No, we're in this mess because people take Islam, they are terrorists, and they abuse the nature of Islam
And you know
the
that
wording
how?
of Islam,
You know
and
that
they
how?
perpetrate evil, and it is completely wrong.
And you know
For
that
you
how?
to try and claim that the
And you know that
vast
how?
majority of Muslims, who are decent, law-abiding people, to try and abuse and mock their faith and their holy book is an outrage.
And
They're
we're gonna
holy, but
put-
when you talk,
and
okay, so
Tommy Robinson, I'm
when
gonna-
the sacred
I'm gonna
months have
stop you
passed,
there
slay the
because
non-Muslims wherever
we
you
are
find them
going
and take them captive and
we
besiege them
are
and prepare for them in
going
ambush.
to-
Who's slaying who? I'm
We
not
are
inciting
going
hatred.
to
This
talk
calls for
to
my
a
death.
If you only ever get exposed to ideas that you agree with, what kind of a university would that be?
But also this notion that somehow Islam and Muslims are this protected species, that if we talk about them at all or criticize at all, it's somehow hurting or humiliating Muslims.
Yes.
And it's a ridiculous
and it's
idea.
confused with racism as well, because an
Right.
incredible number of people think Islam is a race.
Yes. Oh, I've heard that, yeah. Right.
And so they think that if you criticize Islam, you're being racist.
Right, or...
And you're absolutely right that the regressive Muslims give a free pass to Islam, whereas they kind of write about everything else. I mean, they write about misogyny and all the other bad things in that case.
You're talking about repressive leftists, yeah,
yes,
liberals, yeah.
Yes. But in the case of Islam, it just gets a free pass.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the terror of being thought racist.
Right. Or at worst, an Islamophobe.
Islamophobe, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
a silly word that means nothing.
Yes.
I mean, it's so dumb because, you know, all the people who are accused of being Islamophobes, like you and me and Sam and Ian, we're liberals. We're liberals about everything.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, from the time I was a child in my home, I was 7 years old when my parents told me, we're for Kennedy and him trying to let black people go to college in the South. I didn't even know who black people were. There weren't any in my town. I knew we were on their side, and then we were on the side of Cesar Chavez and the lettuce pickers, and then we were on the side... Then we were on the side of the women's movement and poor and the minorities, whatever it was, gay people, the disabled, the abused, the molested, whatever Caitlin is up to. We were for it. And they applaud that. And if you say something about a woman who's forced to wear a beekeeper suit in the hot sun all day...
Oh, that's their culture. You have to respect it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what they say. It's just insane.
Yes, it's just the one exception. Liberal about everything else, but then this one exception, it's their culture. Well, to hell with their culture.
There you go, Dr. Richard Dawkins. All right. Well...
And then we have political correctness, which is this joy that is the other side of health and safety, which is a small oppression of our physical movement, so we can't do anything without permission from the state. And political correctness is the oppression of our intellectual movement, so no one says anything anymore in case somebody else gets offended. What happens if you say that and someone gets offended? Well, they can be offended. What's wrong with being offended? When did sticks and stones made break my bones stop being relevant? Isn't that what you teach children, for God's sake? That's what you teach toddlers. He called me an idiot. Don't worry about him. He's a dick. Now you have adults going, I was offended, and I have rights. Well, so what? Be offended. Nothing happens. You're an adult. Grow up. Deal with it. I was offended. I don't care. Nothing happens when you're offended. There's nothing... I went to the comedy show, and the comedian said something about the Lord, and I was offended. And when I woke up in the morning, I had leprosy. Nothing happens. I want to live in democracy, but I never want to be offended again. Well, you're an idiot. How do you make a law about offending people? How do you make it an offence to offend people? Being offended is subjective. It has everything to do with you as an individual, or a collective, or a group, or a society, or a community, your moral conditioning, your religious beliefs. What offends me may not offend you, and you want to make laws about this? I'm offended when I see boy bands, for God's sake. It's a valid offence. I'm offended. They're corporate shills posing as musicians to further a modelling career, and frankly, I'm disgusted. Right? But what am I going to do? Call the cops? Hello, it's me again. They're on the telly this time. 5 of them, that's it. Yeah, white suits dancing like girls, that's them. 5 minutes, I'll be out the front traumatised. Bye.